Everyone says trust is the foundation of relationships, but in reality, it is the first step toward exploitation. From childhood, we are taught that trust is sacred, that without it, bonds collapse. Yet the brutal truth is that trust is the most weaponized human weakness. History, politics, business, even personal lives are littered with examples where trust became the very tool of downfall. Trust disguises itself as safety, while in the shadows it opens the door to manipulation and betrayal. When you hand over trust without question, you are surrendering control, offering others the leverage to twist outcomes in their favor. What feels like connection can quickly become captivity. The comforting illusion that trust unites us hides the darker reality. Trust is a battlefield where loyalty and deception collide, and survival belongs to those who recognize the danger behind the smile. Trust often appears solid, but in truth, it is a fragile illusion crafted on appearances rather than reality. People are quick to project honesty onto others who look confident, speak with authority, or display charm. These signals feel convincing, yet they are nothing more than carefully staged performances. Con artists thrive on this weakness, spinning a false sense of security that lures victims into lowering their guard. History is filled with emperors, generals, and rulers who believed in the loyalty of allies, only to be deceived at the moment of greatest vulnerability. In modern times, corporations and leaders fall into ruin when they mistake polished image for genuine integrity. What appears authentic often hides corruption, greed, or betrayal, waiting for the right moment to strike. This is the paradox of trust. The more convincing the illusion, the more dangerous the fall. Betrayal feels like a shocking violation, yet beneath the surface it is almost always predictable. Human psychology is built on self-interest, and when survival or ambition demands it, loyalty becomes disposable. In moments of pressure, people calculate outcomes, weighing personal gain against the cost of staying true. When the stakes are high, self-preservation and advancement override promises, no matter how sacred those promises once seemed. History's greatest betrayals, from generals who defected in war to confidants who sold secrets for wealth, follow this same script of ambition and fear. Even in personal lives, betrayal surfaces not because trust was weak, but because opportunity outweighed loyalty. To expect loyalty without question is to misunderstand human nature. The brutal truth is that betrayal is not an anomaly, but the natural byproduct of self-interest. Accepting betrayal as inevitable is the first step toward protecting yourself from it. Trust is rarely the innocent virtue people imagine. In the hands of manipulators, it becomes a calculated weapon. Leaders, strategists, and con artists alike understand that the fastest way to control someone is to earn their confidence. By projecting sincerity, they disarm suspicion and create a false sense of safety. Politicians promise integrity, only to twist loyalty into votes and power. Corporations market trust as their brand, while exploiting consumers behind closed doors. Con artists master this art most visibly, spinning stories that bypass logic and tap directly into emotional belief. In each case, trust is not freely given. It is engineered, cultivated through deliberate actions designed to weaken defenses. Once trust is secured, the victim's guard drops, leaving them vulnerable to manipulation, exploitation, or betrayal. The very thing seen as a moral strength becomes the trap that ensures defeat. Blind trust carries a price far greater than most realize, and history is crowded with examples of those who paid it. Leaders who placed absolute faith in advisors often discovered too late that their loyalty was a mask for ambition. Julius Caesar trusted Brutus and the Senate, only to be struck down by the very hands he embraced. In modern times, business partners who failed to question intentions have seen empires crumble overnight, fortunes stolen, and reputations destroyed. Investors who trusted charismatic figures like Bernie Madoff without scrutiny lost everything, proving that appearances can hide catastrophic deception. On a personal level, countless lives unravel when relationships built on untested trust collapse under betrayal, leaving emotional and financial ruin in their wake. The comforting belief that trust guarantees safety blinds people to the dangers lurking behind the facade. Trust without verification is not noble, it is self-sabotage. By handing over blind faith, you give others unchecked power over your fate. The devastating collapse that follows betrayal is not an accident, but the inevitable outcome of ignoring caution. What begins as security and trust almost always ends in devastation when vigilance is abandoned. Machiavelli understood that power survives not through blind faith, but through carefully rationed trust. His principle was clear: give trust only in fragments, never in full. A wise leader or strategist does not expose themselves by handing over total confidence. Instead, they build trust in controlled doses, enough to keep others cooperative, but never enough to surrender control. By offering pieces of reliability, they create dependency. Others begin to rely on access, approval, or favors without realizing they are being kept on a leash. This calculated trust building ensures that loyalty flows upward while risk remains contained. The one who controls trust becomes the one who dictates the terms of every interaction. From friendships to politics to corporate hierarchies, the Machiavellian way shows that power is preserved by withholding more than you reveal. Trust tied to emotion is the easiest doorway for exploitation. Manipulators understand that when feelings are involved, logic weakens and defenses fall. In toxic relationships, declarations of love are used to secure obedience, guilt becomes a chain, and loyalty transforms into control. Manipulative leaders employ the same tactics, cloaking dominance in the language of care and unity, while extracting sacrifices that only serve their agenda. Abusive systems thrive by presenting themselves as protectors, demanding faith while quietly exploiting vulnerability. The individual, blinded by affection or dependency, mistakes control for commitment. This is why emotional hooks, whether love, fear, or belonging, are the most dangerous weapons disguised as trust. Awareness becomes the only shield, recognizing when trust is being used not as connection but as leverage. What appears as love-based trust often hides ruthless exploitation designed to strip autonomy and secure power. Leadership is built on the fragile currency of trust, yet the paradox is unavoidable. Leaders must secure trust from followers while never fully granting it in return. A commander without the faith of their soldiers cannot inspire action, but a leader who blindly trusts those beneath them risks collapse from betrayal. History proves this tension repeatedly. Julius Caesar's reliance on the Senate's loyalty ended in assassination. Richard Nixon's mistrust exposed paranoia that unraveled his presidency. Conversely, leaders like Winston Churchill carefully balanced this paradox, rallying the trust of the public while maintaining calculated suspicion of those around him. The truth is that leadership thrives on asymmetric trust. Followers must believe in the vision, but the leader must constantly question motives, alliances, and loyalty. This tension makes trust both a pillar of authority and a silent threat to it. To survive, leaders must master the art of giving enough trust to inspire devotion while keeping enough suspicion to guard against betrayal. Those who confuse mutual trust as an ideal often pay the price with power, reputation, or life itself. Strategic trust is never accidental. It is manufactured through deliberate methods that give the illusion of reliability while preserving control. The first tool is consistency. People are conditioned to equate repetition with truth and stability. By maintaining predictable behavior patterns, a leader or strategist convinces others that they are dependable, even when hidden motives remain untouched. The second tool is controlled transparency. Revealing fragments of vulnerability, never the full picture, creates the perception of honesty. A selective disclosure, such as admitting a minor weakness, can generate deep confidence while concealing the critical truths that protect power. The third tool is reward and punishment. By rewarding loyalty and punishing disobedience, a leader shapes behavior through psychological conditioning. Followers learn to associate trustworthiness with tangible benefits, while disloyalty carries consequences. Over time, this system embeds trust as a transactional dynamic rather than an emotional one. Strategic trust building is a power dynamic because it does not rely on blind belief. It transforms trust into a carefully engineered structure that others depend on, even as the architect remains in control. Unlike blind faith, which exposes weakness, engineered reliability ensures authority. The contrast is stark. Naive trust is a gamble, but strategic trust is a calculated investment that yields influence and protection. The ultimate lesson about trust is brutal but clear. Trust is never absolute. No matter how convincing someone appears, no matter how many years of loyalty they have shown, the reality is that circumstances can shift, motives can change, and even the most reliable ally can turn against you. To believe otherwise is to build your life, your power, and your security on unstable ground. The comforting stories told about unconditional trust are illusions designed to make you vulnerable. In the real world, survival depends on treating trust as a calculated risk, never as an unquestioned truth. To protect yourself, you must learn to balance skepticism with measured reliance. Absolute suspicion breeds paranoia and isolation, but blind trust guarantees exploitation. The middle path is one of calculated reliance, giving only what is necessary, holding back what must remain hidden, and constantly verifying that loyalty aligns with action. Every relationship, whether personal, political, or professional, should be evaluated through this lens. Trust should be extended in layers, tested by consistency, and withdrawn the moment it becomes a liability. This mindset shifts trust from being a sentimental act into being a rational instrument. Those who succeed in power understand that trust is not an emotion. It is a currency. Like money, it must be spent carefully, invested strategically, and protected from theft. Leaders who manage trust as currency maintain authority long after others collapse under betrayal. Empires fall not because enemies storm the gates, but because misplaced trust rots them from within. Corporations crumble not because markets shift, but because executives trusted the wrong hands with unchecked control. Even in personal lives, heartbreak and ruin often trace back to the same mistake, mistaking trust for certainty. The legacy lesson is ruthless clarity. Do not confuse kindness with loyalty, appearances with authenticity, or affection with permanence. Trust no one fully, because full trust surrenders your greatest weapon, control. The most dangerous illusion is believing that someone will never betray you. The most powerful truth is living with the awareness that they can and preparing for it. Those who embrace this clarity move through the world with resilience, unshaken by betrayal and unbroken by loss. In the end, power belongs not to those who give their trust freely, but to those who ration it with precision. It belongs to those who see trust not as a virtue, but as leverage. It belongs to those who recognize that every bond is a negotiation, every promise is provisional, and every alliance is temporary until proven otherwise. The brutal truth is that trust is a battlefield and survival demands you never surrender your defenses. Ruthless clarity, not blind belief, is what preserves power, safeguards legacy, and ensures that you are never the one left broken by betrayal.